This one is going to be about bondage. No, no, not that kind of bondage. It's bonds. It's probably better to say bond. Um, Basically, is what it is. What it is how we are uh, related. The type of relationship that we have, basically, with other people, and then it goes beyond, the relationship on the flesh. And I'll explain that about that in a minute. I will expand on that in a minute. But basically, the thesis is this: it's biblical, by the way. No one can love what they do not know. You cannot love what you don't know. Doesn't mean that you hate it necessarily, but you certainly not gonna love it. Whatever it is, it could be a thing as well, but mostly the focus here is obviously about it's between it's human and spiritual relationships, personal relationships, if you will, because the souls in heavens are persons, by the way. They even the ones that are not humans, which is most of them. Um, but um, but anyway, they're persons by definition. Demons are also persons, by the way, by definitions. So person is not just a human being, right? We all understand that. If you don't, go ahead and find out about it. Because that's not the topic here, but anyway, that's what we're talking about: personal relationships here. Um, so the closest you are to someone, as far as being related to that person in principle, or even friendship. It could be an enemy, you know. Um, but in this case, obviously, we're talking about on the positive side because you see, we're talking about love, basically. That's what it is. So you cannot love what you don't know, and but therefore, and this is something, by the way, it's biblical, and it's a principle that is taught not just. In fact, it's not even just the Christian community that teaches that, but also when I say Christian community, I'm talking about the church that teaches that, but also even in the in other non-Christians, philosophies and religions, and even even I think it even non-religious entities follow this principle. So it's a pretty much universal principle that you cannot love what you don't know. So now, having said that, does that mean that because you hate something or some, it means that you don't know? No, no. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't cut both ways. It's only one way. You can only love what you know, but it doesn't mean that what you know you necessarily got to love. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you've heard about Satan. Yeah, yes. Everybody knows at least a little bit about Satan. Doesn't mean that you love him, obviously. Hope not. And matter of fact, I was listening to a testimony from former Satanists that are now Christian and Catholic, Christian, and very good Catholic. And he basically is saying that he tried to uh, love the S word. I mean, put it that way. The demon, the devil, whatever. I don't even want to put those two together. Love, but anyway, he said that he wanted to love that thing, but he couldn't get too far because that thing, of course, is never going to love him. So, see, in order for a relationship to be strong, it has to go both ways. Now, that's kind of like a fine line there because I'm talking about humans between among humans. Because I'll go over that in a second, and yeah, you'll see what I mean. But basically, the strongest relationship ever is with God. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. But anyway, so the thesis is this. I mean, so again, you don't love what. So the stronger the bond that you have with a person, that means that you're going to be able to love that person the most, right? Now, that applies to all persons, including God. By the way, God is also a person, you know. So anyway, having said that, so it goes like this. I mean, because I was meditating about my relationship with different people, including, of course, I mean, family. And this is where I'm going. You know, when it comes to the bond, the strength of a bond that you have with a person, it goes way beyond just flesh and bone, right? Uh, and I explain myself. I mean, I'm pretty sure you will get it. Y'all will get it. But um, I'm the only one who watches these videos, anyways. You will get it, Miguel. I'm talking to myself. um, so anyway, no, but I mean, the maybe when I'm gone, people will start watching this. I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, if I had a relative that I care about, and I found that he or she had a channel on YouTube with a bunch of videos, oh, you better believe I'm going to be watching those videos, especially when that person is gone. If I care about that person, but no, it's not really. It doesn't mean necessarily that if you don't do it, I mean, you're not. I mean, you might not even know that. In fact, that makes me think, maybe I should start looking at different. So to try to find out if people have people that I care about anyway. I have, But anyway, I digress. The important thing is that how do you measure well, at the same time, why is this important? Because how do you measure the love that you have for someone else? That's how you measure it, based on how close you are to that person. And again, I'm not just talking about flesh and bone. In fact, as you will see in a minute, you could be, it could be a child of yours. Flesh of your flesh, bones of your bones. You might be distance. That might be about just the only thing that you have in common. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the bond that you have with someone else on the flesh is not important. Of course it is. Of course it is. I'm saying that it's not really the most important thing. It's not really the most important thing. In fact, the most important thing is the bond or relationship that we have with God, independently. And so before I go any further on that one, let me just put it this way. We're talking about the levels of bond, how close we are to different people. So the first and foremost, strongest bond that any human being can possibly have is the one that he or she has with God. And here's where, I mean, and that's why I guess that's what was inspired by the Holy Spirit to talk about this. And it's because that's where there's a lot of confusion on that one. People think that depends, the bond that you have with one person depends on that person and or on you. Or I should say, no, I mean, I take that back. They think that it has to be both, that it cuts both ways. No, nah, not really. Not really. Um, so, any more than, for example, let's say, for example, you have a relative that you hate his or her guts. It could be a brother, sister, a cousin, or a parent. And by the way, that happens, unfortunately. But guess what? You're still related to that person, and you cannot change that. I mean, of course, I mean, psychologically, it might fall on your behind, especially the more you hate that person, for example. It's not a good thing, but I mean, the more you hate or distance, let me put it this way, distance with that person. Because I know people like that, by the way, but I don't hate him. It's just, well, anyway, we're very distant. And I'm talking about people that are very close in the flesh, too. And yet, we are gazillions of miles distance in principle. But I'm not gonna say names here, by the way. But if you know who, if you know me, you probably know who I'm talking about, right? But I'm not gonna say names. You know, and yet, neither I, not that I want to, by the way, but neither I or them, I don't know if they want to. I don't think so, but anyway, none of us can break that bond because it's already happened. No matter whether we like it or not, we are related by flesh. That's about it. We have nothing else in common. We don't share principles. We don't share anything. Now, with this person, there's quite a few, but especially this person that I have in mind right now. Read my mind. This person I have in mind, we used to be very close in just about everything. And so it was more than just, of course, I mean, the flesh and bones, or the blood bondage. Let's talk about blood bondage. It was more than the blood. We were, we were almost in line with everything in life, all our thoughts, politics, religion, everything. But then all of a sudden, something happened a long time ago. We went in the opposite direction. In one particular area, I'm not even going to say which one. In one particular area, we just went in the opposite direction. That particular area is the most important one to me right now, anyway. Anyway, so it goes what I was saying. Even in situations like that, you cannot break the bond. And I know people tend to think, "Oh, yeah, I don't want nothing to do. I don't know that person. I couldn't care less." Blah 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 blah. But no, you're related to that person, whether you like it or not. If you are related to that person. But having said that, the bond, the magnitude of the strength of the bond that you have with someone goes way beyond the blood. But it doesn't mean that there are no relationship whatsoever. I mean, if you're related to that person, at least on the blood, you are related to the blood. There's nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do? Kill yourself and get another human body? So anyway, I mean, but what we're talking about here is the bond in general. And that goes way beyond, goes without saying, goes way beyond the flesh. Now, so the first and foremost important is the bond that we have with God. And that's where I was going with this. You see, that bond, the bond that we have, each and every human being has with God, depends not on us. That's the point. It depends on Him. It depends on Him. What is the thing that connects us to God? You're looking at it. Life. I mean, I think I'm alive. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me. I'm not talking about, la espiritista, Sands is what he called, whatever. All these clowns, the mediums, and all those clowns. By the way, if you don't go there, that's all those things. I'll do another video on that one. Probably the next one. Actually, it just came to my mind right now. I should make a video about that. Stay away from those things. But anyway, more about that later. Let's just focus on the topic on this one. All these things have to do with horoscopes, hechicería, espiritismo, all that garbage. Throw it away. All those things are purely satanic. And I'll talk more about that. And that has power. If you go into that, You are being cursed as we speak, because that has power. Because Satan still has power. So, but anyway, setting that aside for now. I forgot why did I bring that up? So, losing my train of thought here. But the important thing is that the God is the one, because life. That's what I was going. Life comes from God. From the most holy person you can think of, Padre Pio, or any saint of this wonderful big shot saints in the Catholic Church. Saints are only canonized out of the Catholic Church anyway. But to the most demonic, evil person you can possibly think of, Mao Zedong, Stalin, Hitler, and all these folks, right? All these wonderful folks. I can think of others here in this country right now, but I'm not going to say it because it's not about politics. But anyway. Oh yeah. But anyway, all those folks are also, whether they like it or not, their stronger bond that they have with any other person is with God. Of course, they deny it if they don't believe in God or whatever, like all these commies, Hitler, and all these people in the past and the present, like this mother freaking from North Korea, this demon. It's a demon. All these folks, evil people, they still have that bond, because that bond does not depend on us. It depends on God. It depends on God. And if you are a believer, even if you believe a little bit, you must at least understand that much. Otherwise, you're a totally non-believer. So the stronger bond that we have is with God. God is almighty. So it says, in other words, it's nothing stronger than him. So that bond that he has with us, which is through life, the life that he gave us, is stronger than anything else. Anything else, any other bond that you have. And then after that is in principle, the bond that you have in principle. Not on the flesh. I mean, we're not talking about the flesh here. We're talking about the bond that you have with someone in principle. Someone that you share the same principles with. It could be religious principle. It could be political principle as well. But that normally, obviously the religious, spiritual principle are the most important. So that's that one. So even if it's someone that you just met not too long ago, if you share with that person, you have a bond with that person that is stronger probably than someone that you've known all of your life. That you might be related to, because in principle you are more related to that person. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. But so in that regard, and then comes the okay. So we got God, and then the principles, and then the bond of that you have of people that you grew up with, that you know most of your life, that very likely are people that you know better than anybody else. Now, this is only playing human on the human side of it, this is not which is partially, it could be related also to principles, but not necessarily. Like I said, I just gave you my example. I was a person that was very close in principle, not anymore, and yet we are very close in the flesh. That's all I have to say. We share a lot of chromosomes, but we're no longer. We are in the opposite spectrums when it comes to principles. So my bond with him is not as strong by any stretch of the imagination that my bond with a friend of mine that is my spiritual partner, if you will. He's a person that is way out there, and I have a strong friendship with this person, and it's spiritual. We to the point that I talk to him about things that I don't want to talk to relatives of mine. Why? Because that bond is stronger than spiritual bond is stronger than the flesh or the blood bond. So that's it. So that's the that would be the was that a second or the third one? I forgot where I am right now. The bond that you have as far as yeah, the third one. The people that you knew, people that perhaps you grew up with, which don't necessarily have to be people that you are related to in the flesh. By the way, it could be someone. I mean, foster from a foster home or whatever, you know. And yet, these people you are closer to them because you knew them more than you knew someone that you might be related to the flesh, but you might not even seen ever in your life. So you see, just because you're related by blood doesn't mean that you have a strong bond with that person. However, because the other flip side of the coin on that one is what I already told you, because you are related with that person, at least on the flesh, you are have a bond with that person, whether you like it or not. So and then now, usually what happens is those are people that you grew up with. Also, you are related to them in the flesh as well. Like for example, me and my brothers, you know, and then my cousins, and then you know. So so you that bond, but of course, I mean, I know my brothers more than I know my cousins, for example. So a stronger bond because we grew up together. Now, that's not necessarily always the case. Just because you are related to the um, in the blood doesn't mean necessarily you grew up together. But in my case, in my family, that was the case. In many family, that's the case, right? So normally, those are the people that you. That's how would be the third one. Then the fourth one, the fourth stage, will be precisely the bond of the people that you are close to because of, you know, by blood. Now, again, the first one, God. Second one, spiritual or in principle. The third one, the bond because of the you know that person from way back, even if you hate him or her guts, his or her guts, you still know that person because you grew up together, whatever. Um, and then the fourth one is the bond because of the blood, you know. Now the last one is the bond because you're humans. That's it. Other than that, you have nothing to do with this person. You hate their gods or whatever. Hopefully not. I hate it. The Lord calls us to love our enemies. By the way, but I mean, I'm talking about people that not only you're not even related to at all by blood, but also in principle, you move in the opposite direction. Okay, again, I don't want to go into politics here, but oh golly, those who know me know who am I thinking about, or what kind of people I'm thinking about. The one that belong to a certain party. I mean, let's say, in fact, let's just talk about the one that I think most people would agree with me. I mean, hopefully, none of you are communists. So, to take it to the extreme, for example. But I mean, people that you do not share anything at all in principle, whether it's politics, religion, or what have you, and then you're not related to them at all. So the only thing that you share in common with them is that they're humans and you're humans. Sometimes I even think it might not even be human. Anyway, so that's the last one. That would be the last. But anyway, then it comes the part of love. That's a little bit more complicated. I think our time is up here, but I mean, just to give you uh, to give you a hint on that one, love. See, normally you cannot love, well, obviously not normally, always, like I said, you cannot love what you don't know. However, this normally goes with the bond. Now, it does always go with a bond. It's just that, and this is what makes it complicated. For example, the most clear example, there's no one, I don't care whether you believe in him or not, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. No one is ever gonna love you more than God. No one, not your mom, not your dad, not your brother, not your sister, not your daughter, not your son, no one, no person in this world, not your lover, so-called lover. We sometimes are not, but anyway, what people call lovers. No one can love you more than God. No one. I don't care whether you're a freaking Hitler or Stalin or atheist. Or I don't care whether you could care less about God. It's not about you. It's about Him, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I talked about earlier. That bond, because that bond between God and us depends on Him, not on us, on Him. We can make Him better on our end by following Him and loving Him, and that bond becomes stronger for us on our end. But in it on itself, the bond is stronger than any other bond, right? And it's precisely because of that, He is the one, or I should say, because no one's going to love you more than God loves you. No one. So, but that love depends on Him. Now, on your end, that's a different story. Como decía el amigo mío por ahí, son otros 20 pesos. That, another different package, different ballpark on our end. How did you respond to that love from God? That's what is going to determine the strength of your love for God. That's a different story. I mean, related, very related, but it's different than the love that He has. You see, in order for this bond to work all the way after you die, it has to be cuts both ways. Now, again, the bond is the strongest one. Again, it's the number one bond that God has with His creatures. However, again, in order for that bond to continue and after this very brief stay that we have in this planet that we call life, after this brief stint we have in this planet, if that bond remains, depends on us. Because God already done His part on that one. That's what is a stronger bond while you're here, because you are life. And life is what connects us to God and belongs to God. But once that life separates from our body, which means we die, at that moment, that bond is either severed forever or it becomes stronger. When is it severed forever? If you did not respond to that love. In other words, if you hate God, if you were Hitler or Mao Zedong or someone like that, I can name many others in this country right now. Very simple.